Hey there guys, welcome back to Harman Art TV. In today's video I would like to talk about what is bone china. Has human bone been used in bone china? Stick around to the end to find out. So if you haven't noticed already, I'm dressed up in the Union Jack, the British flag, because today is the Queen's Platinum Jubilee that falls in the year 2022, which marks the Queen's 70th year as monarch. And so major celebrations will be taking place from today, Thursday, 2nd of June, with celebrations running until Sunday, the 5th of June. That's why I thought, oh yeah, I'll put on this this Union Jack just to make the video quite entertaining. And also I thought I'd mention this because it's quite relevant as it also relates to what I'm going to talk about in the video. So firstly, what is bone china made from? The traditional formulation for bone china is about 25% kaolin, which is a mineral clay, and 25% Cornish stone, which contains feldspar-rich, partially kaolinized granite rock, forming aluminum tectosilicate, I think that's how you pronounce it, maybe, minerals. The key ingredient for bone china is bone ash, and in most cases this seems to be 50% bone ash derived from animal bones, which typically appears to be cow bone ash. Obviously there's been, human bone ash potentially being used in the past, and I'll like I said at the beginning, if you stick around for the end, I'll talk a little bit more about that. So who created or discovered it? So I found out the initial development or introduction of the improved formula of bone china is credited to a person called Josiah Spode II. Josiah Spode II. So he introduced it around the 1800s, and he was an English potter and the founder of the English Spode pottery in Stonke-on-Trent in the UK. However, in the mid-1700s, there were experiments predating this development from Josiah Spode. So there was an English guy called Thomas Fry. He was a painter, so he would paint decorative or paint ceramic objects at a porcelain factory called the Bow Porcelain Factory in London. And he claimed to be the inventor and first manufacturer of porcelain in England, where he was experimenting by adding bone to the porcelain. In today's standard, porcelain does not generally contain bone, hence why bone china usually contains bone, so that's the difference. So that's why we have bone china, which 50% of its ingredients is composed of bone. So now let's talk a little bit about the history of bone china. So from my research I gathered that the initial development and up to the later part of the 20th century, bone china was almost exclusively an English product, with production being effectively localized in Stoke-on-Trent in the UK. So most major English firms made or still make it, including obviously Spode being the main one, Worcester, Royal Crown Derby, Royal Dalton, Wedgwood, and Minton's being a few other companies that focused on creating bone china tableware or products. And then in the 20th century, it began to make its way elsewhere, including Russia, China, Japan, and now China, which is now the world's largest manufacturer. Yeah, so going back to royalty then, in particular royalty in the UK, obviously also relates to this video. Hence, I decided to release this video on this day as well. It's said that the Queen enjoys a nice cup of tea in a bone china cup. Cheers. Cheers. There's no tea in there, by the way. As a kind of example, a bone china cup. Apparently someone at Hello magazine that I found online said, I'm sure the Queen enjoys her Earl Grey, the traditional way, made with tea leaves in a teapot and poured into a fine bone china teacup. And apparently having a cup of tea in a bone china cup with a saucer is a special way to mark the Jubilee here in the UK, and supposedly is something that perhaps Brits love to do throughout this long kind of history of the royalty. And then after doing my research, they would set up these kind of street parties and, you know, all gather around tables and eat and celebrate, and maybe they would have their bone china cups out on the table and they would, you know, drink their tea from the cup as a way to celebrate the Queen's Jubilee. What are the characteristics of bone china? So bone china is a material that is usually purchased as a liquid. I remember using bone china at a symposium. We had these massive buckets filled with bone china liquid. I guess in this form, this makes it really suitable for producing tableware, which can be produced using plaster molds, like a negative space of an object, and then you'd pour the bone china into the plaster mold, and the mold would absorb the moisture, and you would leave it in there for say a couple of hours, and then you'd take away the mold pieces to reveal the object. Yeah, to reveal the object inside, like this. So these pieces would have been made using a plaster mold because they're very precise. You can't see any traces of the hand in there. And that's how these companies would have mass manufactured these in big quantities using these molds. Bone china can also be solidified to create handmade items. So you don't have to use plaster molds, you can use it in different ways as well. It's a strong material and it does not chip easily. The material can be translucent when it's thin and light can penetrate through this. So I've got this light bulb here and it's placed behind the piece and you can see the light just about penetrating through the material. And that's one of the qualities of bone china, is that light can pierce through the material surface. That's one way in which you can identify bone china. Also, it's very white in colour. It's really white and has like this, some people say it has like an ivory white appearance. I'll show you this other piece. See that on the inside? And see, you can just about see my fingers there, like the shadow, the translucency. So it's a very white, pure-like material. So the material itself is very light, and this is why manufacturers like to use this material for tableware, because obviously being tableware, you want it to be quite light so you can take a drink from it, or you can move it around, or you can put your food on there and lift it up. So the material, bone china, is very ideal for eating food, for eating and drinking, because it's very light. So what can bone china be used for? Obviously, we've mentioned tableware. You know, this is obviously really ideal for tableware because it can be produced thinly. Because of its fine delicacy. Also, what makes it unique for tableware is that it's a very strong material and also has that translucency. So it's not only strong, it's elegant and very suitable for kind of fine dining. And production tableware can be highly decorated, and some of them can be hand painted, but most of them nowadays use digital transfers. Some of them also have details on there of gold luster and silver luster. Sometimes they can be made from real gold and real silver that can be painted onto the surface. This isn't always very common these days because it's a very expensive material. I don't know if that's a real luster though. I'm not too sure. And yeah, so for this reason, bone china products can be expensive because of the quality of the material and the time and labor that goes into producing it. It's a very delicate process. You know, you have to produce the bone china clay to the right consistency. You have to produce the molds, and the molds have to be produced correctly to the right shapes for then the liquid clay to pour into, and then the liquid clay's got to then be poured out, it's got to dry, they've got to take the pieces out, they've got to create the handles and all the other things that attach to it, and then they've got to put it in the kiln and fire it, and then they've got to put the glaze on it and the patterns. So it's quite a long process, and for this reason bone china products like tableware can be expensive. Depending if it's been hand painted, that's another factor that can also increase the value because more time and skill went into that piece. So what else can bone china be used for? Obviously it can be used for art, and I've been lucky to use bone china in the past, and I did a symposium at the Kaunas Faculty of Vilnius Academy of Arts that ended with an exhibition at the Kaunas Picture Gallery of MK Čiurlionis National Art Museum, I think that's how I pronounce it, in Lithuania. So it was a very interesting experience because during that time I was just mainly focused on using bone china. That's all we used as the material. You can see an example here, so you can just about see, you know, how translucent, you know, that material is. See my hands on the other side. And so I was there for, I think it was probably 3 weeks, maybe a bit less. But instead of making tableware, I was using it to create artworks. You know, I was using it to create wall sculpture and standalone sculpture, and these were just some of the tests I created beforehand to think about like the color and the material quality itself and how I could use it to create sculpture. I think that's the interesting thing about this material, is because you might be watching this and thinking, well, you can only use bone china to create tableware. Obviously, you know, that's one main way in which you can use it, which a lot of people are used to. But you can also use it to create original artworks. So how can I tell if my bone china is real? Well, if it's a tableware object like this one, a tableware cup, there should be a company trademark. There's a company trademark that's on the back. Most bone china tableware pieces will have the company's name, the material, bone china, and its production location on the back. And again, another way you tell it's bone china, as mentioned previously, is that it would be slightly transparent. So for both tableware and bone china artworks, so the light should be able to shine through the ceramic surface as the material is translucent. Oh yeah, and then that's an example of the plate. So yeah, as mentioned in the beginning of the video, so does bone china contain human bones? It sounds pretty creepy, and but generally speaking, in today's world, no, that shouldn't be the case. And if you do discover it, then depending on your location, things might be a bit questionable. But actually, I found out that there was an artist called Charles Wing Craft. 1999, he did a residency, and during this time he developed a technique utilizing bone in ceramics, which he termed spone. Obviously the name coming from Spode in the UK. Spode, the company, Spode, Josiah Spode, who developed bone china. However, instead of using animal bone, he substituted this bone with bones obtained from his wife's deceased friend, who requested him to make something out of the remains. So since then, this artist has created a number of funeral related artworks using human bones. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, feel free to give it a good thumbs up. Happy celebrations! If you have liked this video, I can totally recommend checking out another video I created called What is Porcelain? That also relates to this video, and I'll put that at the end of this video. You're also welcome to check out my Patreon profile, and I'll put a link in the description below, and you'll get access to like exclusive content, merchandise and more, and you get to see these videos before they go public. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself, guys. See you next time. Bye bye.